Darryl Glenn pulled off a major upset in the Republican U.S. Senate primary race at last Saturday's assembly. Glenn secured 70% of the vote, which knocked out all other candidates seeking nomination via the convention, including State Senator Tim Neville. David, Tim Neville was the presumptive frontrunner, at least at the convention level, and had strong backing from Rocky Mountain gun owners. It was stunning both for him and it seemed like a stunning rebuke to the Rocky Mountain gun owners. What's your take?
I wouldn't call it a rebuke to RMGO, much as I would like to. And I don't think that Senator Neville did anything wrong in his campaign. He was well organized. He was out there going to the coffees and the assemblies and everything else. He just got blown away by a hurricane that unexpectedly came into town. That was an outstanding speech, and while I think there were a lot of delegates who thought Neville was fine, Darryl Glenn offered them something exciting and new. This is a different Republican Party than we had 40 years ago in the state. Of the Senate candidates now they have, 2 of them are black. And the others are not exactly old-time veterans the way in the former days you had to work your way up the system for 20 years before you could run for Senate. Whether Glenn can take that great speech and build an organization that can get primary voters out, that's a whole other thing. But the person who was the saddest when the results were announced was Michael Bennett's campaign manager, because they were set for Neville to win the primary with a small plurality, and then they run against him because he's too right-wing and everything. Now, Darryl Glenn's a very conservative guy himself, but partly because of race and because of style, may come across in a more inclusive way in Colorado. So we've got 5 unknown candidates, and we'll see who can pull it off in the primary.
Eric, how does Glenn turn this momentum into the actual primary beyond the convention?
It's going to be tough. That's his challenge. He has to start by raising some money. I think there's something to be concerned about here, and it's not just at that convention, but it's our politics as a rule these days, and Donald Trump is case study number 1, which is what I call the shiny object rule. And voters seem, and even delegates, political activists seem so inclined now for the shiny object. Darryl Glenn, by all accounts, gave a tremendous speech. But one speech should not make a campaign or a career in the United States Senate. But yet he was the shiny object of last Saturday at the Colorado Springs World Arena. Donald Trump is the shiny object of the year. And I think there's some cautionary tales there. Main point I want to make, Dominic, is in this system we have, there is just no correlation between being the favorite at the assembly and actually winning a primary. If anything, over the last 20, 30, 40 years, there's almost an inverse correlation. Look at the last big Senate primary we had here, which was 6 years ago when Bennett ran the last time. Andrew Romanoff beat him at the State Democratic Convention 60-40. He was on the top line. How did that work out? Look at the Republican contest 2 years ago for governor. There were 4 candidates on the ballot. Mike Kopp was on top because he did the best at the convention. He finished in 4th place. Scott Gessler was 2nd. He finished in 3rd place. Bob Beaupre was 3rd. He won it, and Tom Tancredo was last on the ballot. He came in 2nd place. There is just zero correlation between the qualities that make a candidate very attractive for that small petri dish of delegates who show up at a state convention and are all about the gung-ho, and the broader base of voters in the party who turn out at primary election time.
Natasha, let's fast forward and see if Darryl Glenn can turn this momentum into a win for the primary. As David said, it's not like he's going against a lot of huge political heavy hitters. There's a lot of folks with similar limited experience. Is he a considerable foe for Michael Bennet?
Yes, but I think just because most of these races across the country are up in the air, I think people have a general distrust of Washington right now, and that's probably Bennett's biggest knock against him, is simply that he is the incumbent. I would say that with Darryl Glenn, we're just starting to see what kind of candidate he is going to be. His speech, the speech, as it's been coined by some of the people who watch it, is actually available online. I would encourage everyone to watch it because it is a fascinating insight into both politics and just how speeches are made, but also who he is and what he believes in. He does not hold back. You know within seconds what he feels. In fact, before he even introduces his name, he has already said he's going to defund Planned Parenthood. So, and it just keeps rolling from that. And that's kind of part of the semantics of the speech. I mean, he hits everything from Iraq to military force to protect Israel to sanctuary cities to just about everything in between. What will be interesting now is now that he's set that tone, here's who I am, this is what I believe in, which is refreshing to many people, and we've certainly seen that in various races that are occurring right now. But now it's going to be, well, how do you plan to do that? And that's going to be the tricky spot for him as he goes up against Bennett, who has much more of a track record.
Patty, Tim Neville went from presumptive frontrunner to off the ballot in one simple vote. How would you characterize this particular fall?
Oh, justified in a lot of ways. But what we're going to see next time is people are going to remember to petition onto the ballot if they want a secure spot. I mean, we have four competitors now for Glenn because they decided to just petition on. And they all had their attractions too as candidates. I mean, Ryan Frazier, also black, has run before. He's a good candidate. It is the shiny object. It's really interesting. You do not want to leave your political fortunes to these conventions. Even though the rules are there, they are arcane too. One person can triumph for unexpected reasons. We also see that Lamborn is going to have a competitor, which is fascinating. Another great speech you can watch online by a complete 32-year-old newcomer, Vargas. So that
she came 18 votes from knocking him off the ballot.
Right, which is really interesting. So you like the political theater, and it is theater, but a lot of people are just going to go the safe petition way from now on.